Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this podcast is for you. Recruiting is a battlefield where the rules keep changing and the chaos never stops. As the world shifted to remote work, real connection and unfiltered learning have never been more urgent. This isn't just a podcast, it's your survival guide. Welcome to the revolution, Your Digital Bullpen. Hi! Oh my God, it's so good to see you guys!
What a fun intro.
Oh, I got to tell you guys that are just joining our little podcast, there was some pre-podcast that will be available on Between the Calls with Myrna and Paul. But we could laugh forever with these two. I don't know if you know these wonderful humans, but this is Nicole Hamm, Michael Wilson, who Myrna and I have worked with and been a part of their lives ever since we stopped working together, because I'm just so passionate about both of you and your impact on my life. And so first up, welcome to Your Digital Bullpen with Myrna and Paul. And just remember, if you guys are watching, smash that like button. Myrna hates when I say smash that like. She's like, don't say smash that like button. That's stupid.
Don't say that.
You gotta smash that like button and share it, right? Because we gotta get people to see.
Yeah, we want to build our community. We want to get the word out. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
While it is fun, there's also a lot of good nuggets of information we share here, and we've literally heard like last couple weeks ago that somebody shared it with our whole new hire group because she loves some of the stuff. So I'm really excited. I will start by introducing the wonderful and talented. And she's super short, by the way, Nicole Hamm. I don't know if you've ever seen her, but she's not very tall. She's sitting down. Yeah. So Nicole is actually a seasoned veteran in the recruiting industry. She actually began her career with a national firm with actually myself and Myrna, where she has actually helped her branch win numerous productions award. She has earned personal accolades early on. About 6 years ago, we all left each other, and Nicole co-founded a company called CB Partners with the good old Corey Baker, which we all hope to have on at some point. It's a boutique recruiting firm based in Colorado, now with multiple national offices. So freaking exciting for you guys. I think you said you have about 20 some odd employees in your office there, and that's huge.
Amazing.
And what a great group of people. Like I know who works with you, and they're all such talented folks. Nicole's deeply passionate about creating an exceptional experience for both her clients and candidates, and takes great pride with her team. One of her favorite parts of Nicole's career was getting to work with a former model and up-and-coming recruiting all-star. He was raw, but beautiful. And I thought we were allowed to use raw. And quickly learned how to build a dynamic and amazing partner. She loved working with him, is incredibly proud of all his accomplishments, and misses him daily. That recruiter is a tall drink of water.
Oh,
Michael
you
Wilson.
bombed that. The tall drink of water.
Sorry. Well, obviously we'll introduce it, but Nicole, you still live in Colorado with your wonderful husband and two daughters, who she proudly admits are both smarter people than she is. So
Way
I love
smarter
it.
than me, yes.
They're so big, Nikki. They're just so
Your
huge
kids are,
now.
I have adults. Yeah, my oldest is 19 and my youngest is 14, but luckily she knows everything, so I don't have to do very much with her.
Perfect. Easy.
It's insane. We used to go to their like fourth grade or their fifth year birthdays.
Michael, they still have the volleyballs that you gave them and signed when you won those tournaments. I know.
That's so sweet.
Morgan still calls you Magic Mike.
No one else does.
She hasn't seen the movie. Maybe I don't know. I don't know her role.
Well, Hammer, I might call you Hammer a few times. Who gave you that
It's weird
nickname?
being called Nikki, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was like, Nicole. No, that's never gonna happen.
I know when he said Nicole, I'm like, I can probably do Nikki Hammer for sure, but Nicole, I don't know about that.
How did Hammer come along again? How did we get that nickname?
So my last name is Hamm, and I think you're like Ham. Hammer.
That was my fault.
Genius.
Oh, good. I'm a genius.
I think I probably came up with it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was definitely you. And then Myrna, you want to introduce our other strikingly handsome guest?
So handsome. We've got Michael Wilson. He's currently a senior executive recruiter for Lehigh Harrison, and he has a decade of staffing experience. Started as a recruiter. He's worked his way up. He started in Denver. He's now in Kansas City. He's been on the temp side, now running a full desk. Michael focuses on HR recruitment in Kansas City area and has been a dedicated volunteer leader with SHRM for the past 7 years, holding roles with SHRM of Johnson County and Kansas SHRM as the social media director. Michael has been recognized as an all-star in his top 10% in his category multiple times. 2018, 2021, 2022, 23. And he's just still doing amazing things and killing it. So we're so excited to have you here, Michael.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We should have had all of our awards behind us. Oh, that's
no.
Would you like Photoshop them in? I have all mine at home.
You can,
I have all mine at home.
If you want to take a picture, I'll just have them like floating behind you if you want.
Across the screen.
You could have just been holding them, Nikki.
Well, hello.
Hello, I'm Nikki Hamm.
Oh my God. I mean, but I do tell you what, anybody watching this podcast, these are some sick producers that literally have found the magical way to take a job that is very difficult, but make it look easy, because I think that's the way you approach it and your passion. And just you've made this amazing career out of it. So we're so happy to have you here. And so let's get to know these crazy two people.
Absolutely.
We're going to do everything in a rhyme. You go first, Michael.
Okay, I'm on the spot.
Well, I wanted to just share, like, I just have a very fond memory of Nikki specifically. There was a time where we were building out the division director training, and she was a big part of that. She was kind of part of that SME. I mean, we did all sorts of those types of projects, but she was part of that. She really helped kind of build that out, share what was missing. And I know I always relied a lot on Michael with new hires. He was really good at the follow-up with candidates, and he was kind of a go-to where I would kind of direct new hires to reach out to kind of get some of those best practices. So everybody wants to know, how did you guys get into recruiting? What made you guys stay in this crazy industry?
We'll have the oldest one go first.
Oh, that's you. Probably the wisest too, though.
Age
Yes.
before beauty. I think like lots of people, I fell into it, honestly. I was laid off, and I'd never been laid off before, so I wasn't really sure what to do with my hands. So one of my, a friend that I worked with forever, Nikki Juby, who I still work with today, her and I started our careers at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where I was also her boss there. But she was working, she was in staffing. She was working for Agilon, and I was like, don't you do jobs? Because I need one of those. So I came in and interviewed with Molly Baker, who I still dig. They had a sales position. Yep. They had a sales position, and I looked at a couple other recruiting firms because I'd never really even thought about recruiting, and there was just a vibe there. So, and I liked Nikki. So when they offered me a business development position, I started it, and the rest is history. It was a lot of fun. I started on the staffing side on the desk, I started in BD and then moved over to the staffing side, and really felt that was my niche. I still helped some clients, but that ended up being where I grew a lot while I had that organization.
Oh my God.
But you also helped launch a couple like different divisions within that.
Oh my
brand,
God.
correct?
You launched so many verticals. Like how many special projects and verticals did you take on through the Agilon brand? Like
we did a bunch. I mean, it was really a bunch of us together. I certainly didn't lead any of those. I was just part of the cool team that did it. But I think
we can do that.
We'll figure that out. I think HR was my favorite vertical that we started diving into deeper. We did some, I think, Paul, you and Myrna knew a ton about the healthcare non-medical. We got into a little bit, supply chain we got to play in as well.
Supply chain plane.
Mm-hmm. Supply chain plane. Oh, the stories that are not podcast friendly with that.
Oh, they're fine. Everything's safe here. Everything's safe.
Yes. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It ended up being, I knew I enjoyed selling. I knew I enjoyed working with people. I knew I was bossy. I'm a redhead, where bossy is said. And being able to tell people, here's how you should do your career, ended up being a good match for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
And what are you doing now?
So back in 2019, Corey Baker was going to start a company, and decided there were some leadership changes and thought it was a good time for me to do so, is to leave the organization. He and I started this together. It's definitely his company, but I've been such a fun ride to be along with. We've got to do some national recruiting, do some stuff that's out of the box that I'd never done before. And it's really grown it from just he and I in our home offices, literally having Zoom up in the corner where we watched each other all day.
Yeah.
Weird. I was like,
wait, you literally, so you guys are working in separate places, but you had Zoom on, so you guys
he was
could
at his house, I was at
That's
my house.
cool.
Yeah. I would come down in the morning because we're working from home. I'm like, I got to put my makeup on, man. He's like, what are you doing? I'm over there like, yeah, I lost a lot of my vanity because it just was what it was.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now we have,
Yeah.
we have an office in the Denver Tech Center. We have an office out in KC and an office in Chicago. And I mean, the growth has been fantastic. I mean, we're so lucky to have just some amazing folks that we get to work with.
Yeah.
We still have that wild, kooky, crazy, fun environment. It's still not an easy job, but easy's boring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
How about
What
you,
about you,
Mr.
Michael?
Wilson?
You know, I just kind of fell into it as well. I remember Paul reaching out to me on LinkedIn and wanting me to have a conversation with them about the recruiting world. And I remember him talking to me about it being in sales. And I thought, well, I don't want to be in sales. I was finishing up grad school at the time, and I wanted to work for a university. And at that time, I was helping interns at the University of Colorado, Denver, connect to internship opportunities. So in a sense, you know, kind of a small scale, what we were doing at Agilon and Parker and Lynch and Accounting Principles, now LHH, the company that I work for now. And I remember going in and interviewing, and the first person I interviewed with, he's amazing at what he does, but he and I just didn't hit it off. And I thought, no, that's not for me. And then I remember Paul calling me and saying, okay, one more interview, like, just trust me, you're going to want to have a conversation with this person. And that person was Nicole Hamm. And I interviewed with her and I thought, yes, like literally 100%, like
That's
whatever
awesome.
the job is, yes. Like I just remember being so impressed with her, and I thought,
I was not overly nice to you. I can't.
you broke me down.
Paul made me interview all sorts of people, and I think at one point I was like, all right.
I think you said to me, like, tell me why I shouldn't like you or something like that. Like you were just
Sounds
like
about
so
right.
real. Maybe it's because I just wanted to win you over. Maybe that's like my
You did.
childhood trauma coming out or something.
Good job,
But I
Nikki.
remember interviewing with her, and I remember thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna put aside everything that I've gone to school for and just take a complete leap of faith into something totally different and join the team. And I mean, I'm almost 10-year anniversary coming up in November. So that was almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
So probably 10 years ago that I sat down with you in that tiny little conference room in our old office and you scared me for an hour.
Well, I'm so glad she scared you into staffing, because you're fantastic. Yeah. And it's, and I mean, I got to tell you, like, one of the things that comes to mind is obviously, you know, I was the managing director, which I was the boss, but I was not the boss. We all know who was in charge. It wasn't me most days, and which was fine. I mean, one of the things I actually loved so much is I had three amazing division directors that worked for me. Nicole Hamm was one of them. And I think one of the things I look back and I still value is I so much appreciated how open you guys were to disagreeing with me and telling me when, no. I mean, honestly, like, I feel like when you
also enjoyed that.
Of course you did. But I mean, there was times and everybody did it respectfully. Like, you know, you would not be afraid to sit in my office and say, I hate that you did this, or or what are you doing? Or you're not doing this. And to me, like, I think as a leader, when you have a bunch of people that just agree with you all day, you do not have the right people around you. And I mean, we all had a team mentality. We wanted the best for the team, but I think being able to openly disagree in a positive manner was one of the things I appreciated most about you guys. So that's something that, like, I literally remember each time I go into a place. And if I'm working at a place and you have somebody that's like, they have a lot of yes people around them, I'm like, you have the wrong people working for you.
Yeah.
So that's,
or they've never been given that opportunity to, like, be open that way. And I think Like that's the difference maker of
But-
like creating that type of environment, you know.
Except Corey Baker never disagreed with me. He agreed with everything I said. And
We'll tag him on this.
we'll tag him on that one and tell him he has to find the part about him in there so he watches
I will.
it. Yeah. So but I want to dive into that because like speaking of all these things that we remember from our background and things that we value, like if you guys, each of you could give some advice to year one you, like just starting out, or maybe some advice to somebody that's either thinking about recruiting or just starting out, like what would that advice be? And it can be as crazy or not crazy as you want.
You go first, Michael. I went first last
You
time.
go. Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's so many things. The thing that kept standing out to me when I was like just reflecting on this question was that this is a business of ups and downs. Like it is just a business of this. And I think the people who do well and the times that I can reflect back to myself doing well are the times that I, hit a lull or went down and didn't stay down long. It's a game of how quick can you bounce back up.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's a resiliency game, and I think the people who ride the highs and then ride the lows too long tend to struggle in this business because it's really just a business of bouncing back. It's the people business, and it is something that is unpredictable. It is something that you can't control your product or people, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to make them do anything. And so I think what I would tell myself, because I remember year one, Michael, being like so discouraged at times, like someone would fall off an assignment or an offer would get declined or a candidate wouldn't show up to an interview. And it was like, that would derail me. And it would be so frustrating because I would internalize that and like, oh, this and that. And the longer I stayed in that, the less time I was on the phone or the less time I was, rebounding and going back and working on a different order or calling a new client and talking about that. So yeah, I would say, the bounce back is probably the biggest thing I would tell year one, Michael, or someone starting out in this industry.
Huge.
Yeah, I would agree with him on that. I mean, I think that everyone goes through those ups and downs, and if you only remember the downs, that is going to be your whole career. So I completely agree with that. Yeah. I hire a lot of new recruiters into this role, and I always say quantity wins right now. You got to talk to a lot of people. You got to talk to a lot of clients. You got to make a lot of calls where nobody's going to answer because quantity will yield quality. And that's the only way to get there. You interview 3 people, there's not the odds of those 3 people being a perfect match for the role that you're looking at are very, very low. Yeah. You got to talk to a lot of people. It's networking, and I laugh at the highs and lows, Michael, because I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've won awards. I've had good days. I've had bad days, but it still has days where I'm like, was it a fluke? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes, you do. You question yourself. Like I still today, like I'll be doing something and I'm like, do I even know what the fuck I'm doing? I seriously, but then you're like, I mean, I probably do, but you question yourself all the time.
I went into Corey's office. It doesn't matter when, not recently, but I remember telling him like, Myrna, I'm not billing at all. I don't know what to do. And he says, okay, I want you to coach yourself like you're coaching your employee. And I was like, that's stupid. No, okay. All right, Nicole. And I seriously was like, I'm going to get back to the basics. And I can't control if somebody's going to accept an offer. I can tell them it's the best thing out there and they're going to do what's best for them. And you have to not take it personally because it's not personal. Personal to them. It's not to you. All I could do is make sure that I'm planned for the day. I make as many dials as I can. And once I start getting into that action, it's usually like a 3-week lag and it starts to flow again,
Absolutely.
But if you sit in that low too long and you're like, you can't say it's a fluke more than once or twice a day.
What is it they say in sports, like you should have a short-term memory, right? And I think that's like when you do something wrong, like you got to have that short-term memory and get over it. But I love
Ted Lasso says, have a goldfish memory.
Freaking love Ted Lasso. Oh, so good. Okay, well, I love it. So Myrna.
Well, and I think those are just like really good points. I think even now I'm a producer and I still have those same conversations with myself. Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I hitting the basics? So I'm glad you guys brought that up because I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received and maybe what's like the worst?
And it doesn't have to be from me because I know there was a lot, so it can be from somebody else. That's
The wise Paul LoPresto once said.
He's actually the one that put that question
No.
in there, just so you guys.
He's like,
It's probably
take a
you're
swing
gonna
at
probably
this
have
taco
you're
pinata.
gonna-
It'll be fine. This isn't going to haunt you the rest of your life.
I probably gave you the worst piece of advice at some point. It's fine.
Remember, you guys, rah, rah, rah. Nikki, you want to take this one first?
Yeah.
Trying to think of so just so everybody knows, Paul has always favored Michael. He sent him the questions. He did not send me the questions.
Totally screwed you. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I mean, I think the best. I mean, the best advice was really just keep going. Like there's, you have to just stick to your basics and just keep pushing forward. There's good days, there's bad days. Luckily, I'm not a brain surgeon, so my bad days aren't as bad as others.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's a whole new thing coming around the corner. So
yeah,
I don't know that that's a super awesome one. I'm sure there's something though.
I think that's a good one. And honestly, like that's something that in this industry, you do have to have that thick skin, but I don't think it's thick skin. I think it's just keeping things in perspective. And I think you said something right there, because every time somebody comes up, they're like, oh my God, I had the worst day ever. And I'm like, did you really? You know who has bad days? Doctors. You know what their bad days are? Somebody probably died. So how are we doing now? Right? Like it's perspective, right?
People having bad days love to hear that, by the way.
I mean, I understand it's a bad day, but it's perspective. And sometimes it's like, it's just getting past it and moving forward. And I think you have to have that goldfish memory, like you said, and just bounce back. But you're right. Now people hate me because I just.
No.
How about you,
Michael? What about you?
You know, there's a lot of things. I think I've been given a lot of great advice, and I don't remember a lot of the bad advice because I think I just kind of tune that stuff out.
Sure.
But good advice, we're in the people business, and it is people buy from people that they like. And a lot of that has to do with just being the most authentic version of yourself and bringing that to work every day and being transparent and being honest and having integrity. And I remember thinking when I first started in this business, like, wow, the bar's set really low in the recruiting world. Like, not a lot of people follow through. Not a lot of people communicate. Not a lot of people are like, this is who I am. And so I thought, I want to stand out by doing things differently. I want to follow up with candidates. I want to be honest and open with clients. I want to be, to have integrity with what I do. And I've just kind of kept that throughout what I've done. I was at a SHRM meeting a couple years ago, and one of the speakers, she's here in the Kansas City area. She said one of the things that she said was find the like. And she's like, if you don't like your clients, if you don't like your candidates, the chances are they probably don't like you either. And so what's the relationship going to be? How are you going to both be successful? She would say over and over, you have to find the like. And that has just like stayed with me. I'm like, that's so true. There's going to be people that we work with, both internally at the firms that we work for and also with clients, with candidates, with whoever, prospects that we might not necessarily like. Well, they're going to know that. And so we have to find a way to like them. And because, we're going to be more successful when we do.
Yeah.
I would say, so I did think of something when it comes to like bad advice. I think in this business, there's so many different things that we can do. And I truly think that it's about specializing in a few of them and being really good at them versus trying to spread yourself out and be good at everything. I don't think there's a way to be a master of everything in this business because there's so many different ways that you can do this job. And I think it's about understanding who you are, what you're good at, and what you like, and staying in those lanes and just doing them as best as you can.
Yeah. I had a question on here that was going to ask Michael, like one of the things I always valued is how passionate you are. You're nothing but authentic. I mean, you are who you are, and you lead with that honest, just genuine who you personality. And so what would you say, like, if you had like your secret sauce and just like these that have made you successful in your career, what would those be? I mean, you kind of told us a little bit, but is there anything else you want to add?
I think everything goes back to relationships. Like I've said, like we all know this is a people business, and it boils down to like a one-on-one connection with someone else. And so the more honest, the more transparent, you can show up and be every day in interactions, the better. And some of those, sometimes that's not the most pleasant. Sometimes it's like talking to a client, like, hey, Mrs. Client, like I'm frustrated. Like this is how I'm feeling about this search. This is what I've done. Here's where I feel like we're falling short. You have to have some of those difficult conversations. But when you have a strong relationship as the foundation, those conversations are so much easier. If you don't have that and you have to have some of those difficult conversations,
it doesn't go great.
You're gonna get fired. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, it's built on trust. Like when you're a genuine person and they feel like, hey, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a little bit of trust when you have a tougher conversation, whether it's with your client, whether it's with your candidate, whether it's with your employee. If they feel like you're coming from a real authentic angle, it's going to go better. Like you can have a tough conversation that's going to be better because of the way you present the information, because there's that trust underlying. They know you're not trying to trick them into something. Nobody wants to be tricked.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Well, it's a very consultative approach, but you've also laid that foundation of trust and showing them and having those very transparent conversations. And I was fortunate enough to kind of see you guys both in action doing that when I traveled to Denver, so I know that that's absolutely true of the both of you. So
totally.
Do you guys remember the priority hire for Kathy? Myrna, you were there, I think. Do you remember when we did what was hire for Kathy?
We were hiring Kathy's EA.
Oh my God! Yes.
I just thought about that.
Yes.
Michael, that candidate reached out to me looking for a job.
Yes,
I know. 6 months or something.
I told her that you were still in Denver. She's still
okay.
How great is it that she reached out and remembered us?
I love that.
Let's I want to share this because the priority hire, this is something that I think people forget as a best practice on what that means. And so people that are listening that are trying to manage a process, right? And this, we're going to derail it a little bit, but I think this is huge. So you're a recruiter and you're trying to do a better way. How do you get the process done faster? How do you not lose candidates? How do you control the process in order to get the client the feedback immediately? So Brian, can you tell me a little bit about what the priority hire is? Michael, I'd love you to explain it to people.
Yeah. I think it all goes to really showing your client, hey, I'm going to give you my full commitment to your search. I need your full commitment to me that we're going to move, we're going to do X, Y, and Z to get to the finish line. Because if we don't, we have a higher chance of candidates getting other offers, or, we're here to mitigate risk. I'm here to help you understand what could happen if we don't follow this and not. And so it's basically just having a very scheduled in-office interview process. We used to do them in our Agilon office back in Denver, and we would do them for contract positions, and we would do them for direct hire permanent positions. Yeah. And we would have the client come into the office, and we would basically have interviews back to back to back for them lined up, and then Nicole and I would do them together, and one of us would debrief with the candidate, and the other
you
one
wanted
would
to say tag team, didn't you? It's okay, you can say that.
I wanted to say tag. And then I knew that I would fall apart.
You start singing.
Second now.
So you guys would sorry, I had to because I saw that, but no. So you would have people back to back, and you would have one person. So you would brief one person, the other person would get debriefed, and then
so they'd get real time feedback, and they it would just condense the process, and it would work so efficiently. And oftentimes the client would know exactly who they wanted to make the offer to. Yeah, and I mean the candidate was there, and we could just condense the process and.
And what's funny is I remember a word track clients used to use, be like, no, I want them in my office because I want them to see where they're going to be working. Yeah. And do you remember the response to that? Why would you want to give the grand tour to a bunch of people that you are not going to hire? Why don't you wait and pick out your best one, maybe two, and then give them the grand tour? You don't want somebody you're not going to hire have access to your entire office. Boom. Yeah. Nailed it. It was gold. I came up with that myself. No, I didn't. But
mine's always, I will expense donuts. I'll have donuts for you.
And they're like
bagels.
Bagels, donuts. But it was
the scariest part of a priority hire, though, was you're back in the back of the office threatening people like, I swear, you guys are the best behavior. No shenanigans.
No cussing.
Mainly it was Michael, keep your voice down.
Yeah. But those were so effective that even clients would almost like, oh, can we just do a priority hire for that
Yes.
role?
They got
Like
used to
they
it,
just
yeah.
kind of
I liked it.
understood it saved time, it helped the
They got the
process.
best
and
candidates back to back. They got their
Yeah.
top candidate. And sometimes during the process, a candidate would take themselves out of it. And you'd be like, and you could tell the client immediately, they're out. They're like, what do you mean
Yeah.
they're out? I'm like, they're out. Keep going. And it just, you're not going to be caught up. So I love it. So thank you for that reminiscing. I appreciate that. That's some damn good advice there, Michael.
Damn good.
Yes, yes. Well, one thing I wanted to really touch on, because everyone here, we all started in a large staffing firm, right? So we had a lot of support. There was, a ton of leadership involved. And now we've all kind of split off and have done a little bit of things differently. Nikki, you're now at a smaller boutique firm. I kind of want to know your thoughts, and Michael, please jump in too. Like, what do you think the biggest differences are with maybe a larger firm versus a smaller firm, the good, the bad, the ugly?
Yeah, it's funny. I was chatting about this with somebody recently. I think that at a boutique firm, I mean, there's pluses to both. I mean, there really is. I was nervous that, oh gosh, now I don't have an IT department. Now it's me. And you should see when the team's like, my mouse isn't working. I'm like, did you blow on it? I don't know. I grew up in the Nintendo era. It is often that all of a sudden it works though. But I was worried about that. And then I was also worried about, shoot, like I don't have somebody else to go, hey, does this make sense? Is this the direction we should go? So that was kind of scary. I think the exciting thing though was that I didn't have somebody saying, hey, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't go that direction. Corey is it's funny because he and I work very differently. Corey is big picture. Let's find a way to make it work. And I'm like, but the details, we got to make sure this is going to work with the details.
Just why it's a great,
So we've had some unique situations brought to us with clients. And it's like, I don't know how we'd make that work. And Corey's like, I bet we could. And we sit down and you could just get really creative when you're the one running the process. And we've really made that something that our team's allowed to do as well. I mean, every single person I hire, I interview all of them, whether they're here in Denver or in other states. And I say, if you have an idea to do something better, or you can make a business case for something, then let's figure it out. Yeah. There's business to be made, relationships to be made. This job is fun when you get to get creative. I'm not good at the transactional, check that box next, check that box. I have to have that be part of my process, but I want to be able to kind of play with the process and see what works best for my client, what works best for me, what works best for this candidate. Let's think outside the box.
There's like some different flexibility around that. But then there's the big ownership on your own, right? Like you're kind of helping make those decisions too, which is, like you said, a little bit scary at times.
Very scary. I remember the first time because I was used to being within a territory of what I could do. And, when you first start, you can't be in a territory when you leave another organization. So we were looking in a realm and I was like, well, this is the area we're going to be doing business in. And we got some business over here. No, because we're working over here. Corey's like, hold on here. Like, we will figure this out. It's like, we can do what we want.
But it's also like breaking that down because you are so, and I always call it the big machine, but I don't mean it in like a negative way, but like there's a place for those types of companies because I grew up in that. I mean, I loved everything I learned, and to be able to like experience it with so many people like you guys, that builds almost like that foundation, right?
Yeah.
And you lean into that. You still are like, I need to have a call block. I still need a call plan. I learned that training growing up.
Yes.
How about you, Michael? What do you think is the big difference? What you've loved staying. I mean, they love you there, so I know. But I mean, what would you?
It's funny. I think the bigger hardship that I had to go through was transitioning from Denver to our Kansas City office, and I remember that being like a really tough decision. And I was really fortunate that I did have Nicole to confide in and help through that process. But I remember that being like a really difficult decision to make. I've only ever been with this organization, and we've made a lot of changes in the last 10 years. I mean, a rebrand, going from more of a geo model to more of a nationwide model, back to a geo model, and going remote to now back in office hybrid. There's the change is inevitable with this organization, and I've always just felt like there's always been something for me to keep me here, whether it's, a great boss that I really jive with, or a new vertical that we're launching, or maybe switching from working temp to working as an ER, or Win for Youth, and a big global program where I got to do international triathlon paid for by the organization. Like, I've always felt like there's been something that's like, this is why you stay. I've never questioned that before. And I think if that ever did happen, I think it'd be a transition to probably a smaller firm. Like a CB Partners or something local here, where it was. But I think what people who have success in this business are because they're agile and they're nimble and they can change. And so whether you're in a big business or a small, a small firm, those things carry over.
Yeah, I love it.
And with those large firms, there's just so many other avenues. Like, I had so many opportunities. I know we all kind of can agree to that. So, I'm always so thankful for those experiences, for sure.
Yeah.
So I still think, I'm sorry, I still think in the big companies, but we still had those tight communities.
They did a good job. They did a good job of it still allowed to feel like that boutique firm. And I think that's one of the things that,
Denver's branch, and then under Kathy's area when you went to manager meetings and stuff. I mean, you still had that community. And I think that that's such a big piece of what I need in a career. To make sure, because I love my job. I love working, and it's hard as a working mom, because you're like, oh gosh, if I'm working, I'm taking time away from my kids. But I think that they see that as I have, 2 daughters, that you want them to see that it's okay to be the work, to have that be a part
to
of
have
your
that passion. Yes.
And it's okay to really enjoy that.
And I think you make a good point there, because obviously I left and worked for another large firm. And, one of the big things I noticed and I still value about the Agilon, accounting principals, Parker and Lynch, Lee Hecht Harrison, whatever they call themselves, the blood that still runs is that community base, that ingenuity, allowing people to have specific ideas. Like, Michael, I know if you went up to, Lori tomorrow and said, I have this idea, I'd like to run with it, she'd probably be like, go with it, right? Like, there's just that, they encourage that within the organization. And so, and Nicole, it sounds like that's what you love, is that ability. So it's you still have it, which is awesome. So before I do want to move on, but I wanted to ask you one thing, Nicole, because you are always an inspiring leader to me. I mean, your people literally freaking love you. I mean, I think you guys had weird. Did you guys have sleepovers at some time? Like, am I allowed to say that?
We did go up to Estes one time and stay there. And now my in-laws are like, nobody's
never again.
They learned the lesson real quick.
That was so much fun.
But you always you created that environment to where people, and we talk about this, where that secret, bringing yourself all to work. What would you say as a piece of leadership advice you would give to somebody else that either A, is struggling to find who they are, maybe B, trying to figure out a way to keep their team motivated? Like, what would you say?
I'd say you can't be one type of leader. I think that you have to really mold yourself to your team without breaking yourself. I think that sometimes people, if you overextend and I really want to make sure this person's going to make it, not every person's right for the role, and I think that you have to kind of listen to that instinct if that's the piece. But I think that really kind of hearing what your employee needs, what your teammate needs, letting them see you work as hard as they're working. Like I try, there's a couple people that get here so early. I can't get here at 6, holy moly. But, but people aren't going to work harder than me. Because I want them to see that I'm next to you in the trenches to make sure that they understand that when you come to me with a problem, well, I probably ran into it. I'm not just guessing from afar. Here's kind of what I think I heard. But then you can kind of mold. You see the way that they produce. You see the way that they behave, and you can change your communication style, change your listening style. They joke with me about empathy here because, again, a little bit of dead soul here, but
no, you're not. You pretend you are. You pretend you are, but you're not. I've seen you cry. I've seen you cry.
You made me cry. Actually, that's the most scared I've ever seen you, Paul.
And you started crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
You're like, oh God. And I'm like, get out. Look at me.
There. Look
at you with your stuff. It's okay.
No, you make good points. I agree with you. I think it's you. I love it. I love it. Well, Myrna, do you want to ask the last question before we go
Yeah,
on to
let's wrap up our last kind of question. We still have a get to know you section, but
if they don't know him already.
I know if we haven't like shared enough about them, right? But let's talk AI. That's obviously a very big topic across the board. It's definitely seeping into recruiting and staffing, and technology itself. But how are you guys? I'll give a quick backstory because we had Erin Bogdanovich, where we already met with her. We already recorded her episode, but she's a head of VP of innovation. I know she has a lot to do with a lot of the technology stack happening over at LLH, but want to kind of find your guys' perspective of like, where does that have a place in recruiting today? And is there any thoughts around maybe, is it going to replace anything?
I mean, that's a great question, and I feel like it comes up all the time. And what it reminds me of is I remember when we were having this same conversation 10 years ago about social media.
Oh yes,
with recruiting and the resistance behind like, oh my gosh, is it separate? Do we integrate it? How do we use social media? What parts of social media? And it was, just something that we ended up you had to embrace, and you had to make it part of how you did your job, or you got left behind. And I think AI has a lot to do with that. I don't think it will ever replace fully what we do. I think there's definitely components of it that can make our job so much easier with plugging an email that you want to send into Copilot or to AI and being like, can you clean this up? Or
it takes out all your F-bombs.
Say Dave.
Maybe this sounds aggressive. What if you did it this way?
maybe
I meant it aggressive.
Delete and start over. Just like that, like incorporating it, but not obviously relying on it. But I don't think it will ever replace fully what we do and what we provide, because it can't be a consultant, and that's what I think really good recruiting partners are consultants.
I love it.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's funny because I literally talked to somebody about this yesterday. Somebody asked me about that, and they said, it reminds me of when the ATS came out, the applicant tracking system, and they thought, well, we're not going to need recruiters, the corporate recruiters anymore, because we have this ATS that's going to screen out resumes, and now they're perfect. And that wasn't necessarily the case. A person's really different from a piece of paper. And I agree with Michael, like that consulting piece. And sometimes there's just an it factor. I know I've seen Michael make the phone call where it's like, I don't know why this person's fantastic, but I gotta tell you, gotta talk to him. And because that trust is there, the client talks to him, and you're right.
It's a good point. And that we were talking about LinkedIn, how LinkedIn, everybody's like, oh no, our job's gone. No, it's not. We just learned to use it differently. And technology, I love it. Well, I could talk to you guys all day because I used to, and I miss it. I know. I miss you guys.
I feel like a celebrity a little bit though. So if we ever talk again and you don't give me an intro, I'm probably going to hang up. Like, I want you to read my intro
every time.
Memorize it next time.
I wrote that. I'm gonna need you to practice it once or twice, Paul, before you read it.
No, I'm sorry. I really did.
I worked really hard on that.
And you did great. Let me tell you, Nicole Hamm is a seasoned veteran.
No,
okay, all right.
It's too late.
Well, let's get to know a little bit more about your life outside of staffing. So you can answer, or I'll start. So what is your guilty pleasure to decompress after a day in the world of staffing?
Physical activity, anything, playing volleyball, going on a walk, going to the gym, anything where I can move my body, except for dancing. I don't do that anymore.
You are not a good dancer.
I've never been a good dancer.
You retired dancing?
Disagree, Michael. You're a fantastic dancer.
I dance very large. I take up a lot of space when I dance.
Yes, you do. That's good. People got to know you're there.
What about you, Nikki?
I guess outside of, I just stay so busy because I have two really active kiddos. So I think that's my downtime is my kids. But I love this time of year because I watch so much volleyball. I love NCAA volleyball. I'm such a nerd about it. My daughter and I are actually going, I texted Michael immediately after getting the tickets. We're going to the Nebraska-Wisconsin game here at the end of November. We're
So
so
good.
excited.
Oh, how
That's where
fun.
you joke about me being short. That's where my people are.
She's not short. She's like
You're going to be short there.
I know. I'm so excited.
The
How
first
tall are your
room,
kids
you're
now?
not going to be the tallest.
I know. I'm not here, Elisa's.
Yeah.
Maddie's like 5'10". Morgan's little. She's like 5'7".
Okay.
She's not going anywhere.
Let's see. What is the last show you binge watched and couldn't get enough of?
Michael, you knew yours right away, so why don't you go?
Hack. Have you guys
How was
watched
that
Hack?
good?
Yes.
It is
Is that-
hilarious. And the comedian reminds me of Nicole Hamm, which is
Oh God.
I loved it so much because it's
Wait,
just
what
watch
show?
it.
Have you
It's
seen
Hack.
Hack?
She's in Vegas, right? Like
Hack?
she has to go to
She's a
Vegas.
Vegas
Hack.
comedian, and she's a little washed up, not referencing Nicole Hamm, but like she gets this
Not
new
that part.
writer to not that part. She gets this new writer to come in who's like
Yeah.
younger and everything and like hip and like teaches her a lot of
Mhm.
stuff.
Are you pointing to yourself like it's you?
I'm like
Did you-
thinking
That's
like
happened
this
to me
is
so many
metaphor. And then the writer helps her with her like it's hilarious. You have to watch
it's a good.
Okay.
It's super good.
Okay.
Watch it.
Okay,
Hack,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to check that out. I love that.
How about you, Hammer?
Right now I'm rewatching Modern Family. What I like to do is I like to watch the same shows over and over again.
Yeah.
Like Recruit.
Love.
But I love Schitt's Creek.
Oh my god! I
God.
just rewatched it.
I've probably watched it 7 times through.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
so
love it.
good.
Yeah.
It's
I-
so good.
so-
And you laugh even more and you pick up on more
Oh,
stuff every time.
It's
So good.
fantastic.
So
I love having my hands
yeah.
like this all the time now.
You know that the dress that Moira wore to the wedding, the big like that she got
Mhm.
married.
The white
That's what I
one?
want. Yeah. So when I get married next November, I told Lisa to wear it, and I want her to dress just like Myra, like in that big huge, because I think that'd be best.
Okay, I thought you were going to say that's what you're going to wear, and I was like,
I did too. I was like,
You're like,
I was
that makes sense.
practicing my
You never
face,
know.
like my
You never
support
know.
face, like,
you dressed when did you dress like a lady at work one time, Paul? What was that one?
With
She was a
Princess
Star Wars
Leia,
lady.
the Princess Leia, or no, I did like Princess Amidala.
There she is.
with the
Seeing me
hair.
is like,
It
you're
was a
going to do
picture.
makeup right, and I was like, I'm terrible.
You better add that picture to that slideshow you're
Oh my
talking
God.
about,
Why did we have
Paul.
that on there? Why was it just the taco?
Yeah.
Wait, listen. Oh my God. Okay, what's enough about me? This is about you. Okay. So what's some random stuff currently living on your nightstand?
Chapstick,
I
a
have
water bottle, and a book.
What book?
Okay.
Well, I just finished my book last night, so I'm starting a new book. It's called The Teacher. It's by Frida McFadden. I don't know. Did you read The Housemaid or any of those books?
No,
it
I
was good. I
haven't.
remember I texted you to ask if I should
They're
read that one.
so good.
On my
So yeah,
list.
Housemaid's really good, but this is the same author. It's called The Teacher. So I will be starting that tonight.
Ooh, excellent.
Did you finish First Lie Wins?
Yes.
So good, right?
So good.
How about you, Hammer?
We're also I have hair oil because I like to blow dry my hair while I sit in bed.
Nice.
Love.
One time my husband
Wait, you blow dry your hair in bed?
Yeah,
Where does the
'cause
blow dryer go?
I plug it in underneath my bed.
And
think
Matt's
I'm-
like over here trying to sleep, and he's like,
No,
really?
not
Like-
anymore. But when we were first married, he had Fridays off, and I didn't like that he slept in. So I was like, "You enjoy sleeping. You're gonna want a pillow on your head because I'm gonna blow dry my hair sitting next to you in bed." And that's just stuff. We're 22 years in. I still blow dry my hair sitting in bed.
That's
My daughters think that's a
amazing.
thing. They also think the laundry room's called the man cave. So pretty much slaying at being mom here.
Love that.
I'm ruining it for
Slay.
husbands, is what I'm doing. And then probably chapstick, Kleenex, because I blow my nose 100 times a night.
Yeah.
My husband also does that.
Same. I feel you,
Yep.
lady.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's one thing that's currently filling your heart with gratitude today?
Always end with the gratitude.
I love
Or your
that.
life.
Oh, I'd probably just say my family, like my niece
Yeah.
and nephews. They're getting older, and I get to spend more time with them. And I would say, yeah, being
Yeah.
my
Isn't that
family.
crazy? They grow
Uh-huh.
up. So I always remember that about how much you just love your.
Michael is so
your
out of
niece-
his nephews.
They're
Yeah,
so
like
Yes. Yes. They're the
Yeah,
best.
both my sisters
It's-
have kids, so I'm very lucky that I get to be a
You're
part of it.
fun, Uncle
Yes.
Michael.
Oh,
Yeah.
so fun. Nikki?
Mine would be family as well. It's just so cool
Yeah.
to see my kids now be adults. And, my oldest is at DU going to be an accountant. She actually, she's been interviewing for some internships. I know.
Wow.
She interviewed
Love
with
that.
Deloitte, KPMG, and she's got EY later this week. Just
Oh my
into
God.
her.
Just
Look at
I
her.
know, right?
I love
They're
it.
internships, but yeah, she's
So perfect. So
killing it.
someday
Awesome.
somebody's going to be like,
So
hey, you don't like accounting. You want to be a recruiter?
Corey
When
Probably
goes,
she's
her
ready
mom.
for sales.
Corey goes, I already have her in Bullhorn and I'm going to follow up with her, so she's my candidate. Dang it, so
Ownership.
close. I made her.
That's amazing.
And then I get to go to so Morgan's now in high school, and
Yeah.
she's on the volleyball team there, and I go to all her stuff. I go to her
Oh,
DECA
that's
things,
awesome.
and when she gets an award for something, and all her volleyball stuff.
Oh my
Just
God.
get to be there.
It's awesome. It's just they're only so little for so long, and then they're gone. So
Yep.
Yeah.
that's it.
Well,
And
Aw,
see,
I just-
Michael, I miss
Oh,
you.
I know I do
I
love
know.
I am super grateful for both of you being on the podcast. And I got to tell you, like, it's been forever since I've seen you, but I know that you are the type of people that are basically like family forever, like, you know, work
Aw.
family. And just really appreciative for you both coming on. Such good shit today. And like, I can't
Loved
wait.
it.
And remember, everybody, there's the Myrna and Paul between the calls that you should probably watch that because there's some good stuff before
There's going to
this
be
call.
some good stuff up in there.
Yeah. Good
Oh
stuff.
my God, Mike, that's going to turn out really well, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course it will.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my
I
God,
will
thank
make sure
you.
Paul doesn't get nutty with it.
No, no.
Thank
I
you.
know
Yeah.
we're relying on you.
Yeah. It'll be sent for
I am
approval
here.
first. Don't worry. Well, guys, thank you again. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And anybody on, remember, share us. Like, you'll get us out on our network because we need to agree. A lot of us are working from home. We don't have these communities,
Yeah.
so let's continue to build them. So thank you guys.
Smash
Good to
that
see
button.
you. Smash
Yes,
it.
smash
Yeah.
it.
Smash it.
Thank you.